today. I have no idea, but it would be nice if we got some rain. Thank you for joining me this morning. I pray that God richly blesses your day. And my daughter was in town, so it was good to see her. I don't know if you, she is in her mid-30s. She has two grandchildren, two children. And I think that she is a phenomenally great mom. And when I went to visit her over the summer, I was feeling a little bit sick. So she made me eat cloves of garlic. She said, "This is good for you." And it was it's a challenge to eat garlic, raw garlic. But I did, and I'm sure it did good stuff for me. And then after I left her, I went to my other daughter's house and tried to eat the raw garlic, and it just didn't work. So I think you have to do it more than 2 or 3 days for it to be effective. But the problem with garlic is I want to eat it all in one fell swoop. And so she had chopped it up into little tiny bits, like the size of a Tic Tac, maybe a half a Tic Tac. And I normally when I eat something like you put it in the back of your throat and you drink it and it all goes down. But when you start to drink it, the water really lifts up the garlic and it goes into your upper palate. And it's just hard to swallow 20 little Tic Tac sized garlics. She says, "Well, I do them one at a time." I was like, "Yeah, I just can't sit here and do them one at a time. Sorry." So anyway, she made it safely back, and I think it was good for her. My outlaws, I think that's what I call them. So it's her in-laws. So it's my outlaws. And that would be her husband's parents, watched the children while she came down. She had a small event here that she went to. And so it was just good to see her. And she was so grateful for the opportunity to just have a little break. Raising kids is hard. And she's got her husband's deployed. So it's even equally hard. So for her to get a break and come spend time, it's just wonderful. You never stop being a dad. You never stop being a dad. And so that's just awesome. Anyway, but she's safely back now. We found out last night that she made it safely back. And so thank you for joining us. What else do we have? It is the 12th, and we have no birthdays today. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out, and I'm going to close this out. And I guess we can go ahead and get into our study. We're still in Leviticus chapter 13. And the thing about Leviticus chapter 13, well, all of Leviticus, is that as you read these laws, what we're noticing is that they are protecting the people against disease. Somehow God has told them that if they eat the certain animals, a lot of these, well, the first how many chapters was how to offer the sacrifices. But now for the last, 2 or 3 chapters, we've been talking about what foods you can eat, what to do if you have skin lesions, all these different things. And so just understand that context, that what God has given Moses is a way to live their life, the people to live their life so that society can live together. Because as we're seeing in leprosy, if they don't isolate the people that are lepers, they can infect the whole colony. And you don't want to infect the whole colony. You want to try to isolate it. And we do the exact same thing today. If we have a new disease that nobody's seen before, what do the doctors do? They put them in an isolation room until they can figure out what's going on. And the same thing was true back then. If you had a skin-like leprosy disease, then you had to isolate yourself. You come back to the priest in 7 days, and if the priest looks at you and you're okay, then fine. But if the priest looks at you and you're not okay, then you're fine. You have to go isolate yourself. And you might have to isolate yourself permanently, which is a horrible thing, but it's it's better to sacrifice the one for the needs of the whole community, right? That's kind of what this law is all about. And another thing, and this is going to be a little bit esoteric, but or maybe just many ladders of inferences here. But one of the things that will destroy you more than anything else in this world is stress. Stress is a killer. When people came back from the war with all this stress, this is World War II, there was incredible increase in what they call hyperthyroidism, which means that your thyroid is producing too much thyroid. And when your body produces too much thyroid, you're on edge all the time. Your heart palpitates. It's just terrible. It's called Graves' disease, and it's finally been diagnosed as Graves' disease. And there was just this incredible increase. And if you know anybody that lives in stress, they get sicker. And one of the ways to reduce stress is, well, one of the ways that a Christian should reduce stress is to just simply rest in the security and safety of Jesus. Things can go bad, but Jesus, you're still in charge. I still love you. You still love me. If worse comes to worse, death. And what can be better than that? Because we're permanently in your arms. So the priest system, if the priest's job is simply to be there at the temple and to accept food and to offer sacrifices to God, that is at some level a bit of a reduced stress job. Now, just bear with me. And if that's the case, if it's a reduced stress job, because they don't have to be out in the field, they don't have to farm, they don't have to risk getting their fingers cut and all that sort of thing. If they stay in the temple, then if the people come to the temple to see the priest is not going to get at risk from seeing these people with these diseases, because the priest lives somewhat of a stress-free life, right? And should live a somewhat of a stress-free life because they know that they're chosen by God to lead the people. And they're not doing all the hard labor that can cause them problems. And so they're getting sunshine, they're getting nutrients, they're doing all the things, and they act as a buffer medically between the people and God, right? So when a person is sick, the priest is at somewhat less risk from transmitting a disease because they live a healthier and stress-free lifestyle. Now, this is just my theory. I have no idea if this is the case or not, but that would be the reason to have your priests, be in good health, which is one of the requirements that we'll see about priests. They're in good health. They're unblemished. They act in the temple. They're different people, and they can act as a buffer between, when there's people sick, you can go see the priest, but you can't talk to anybody else, because if you talk to anybody else, you might get sick, especially if you yourself have an open wound. You don't even know you'd have an open wound. But the priest, he lives a more of not a sedentary, a less risk lifestyle, and he's able then to diagnose and do these things. All right. Now, today we have so much more information about diseases and how they're transferred and all that sort of thing, except for the recent pandemic where we seem to struggle a little bit on trying to identify what it was and how to treat it and how to isolate and all those sort of things. But barring a major outbreak of a pandemic, this is not a bad system. So I just wanted to throw that out there because as we kind of go through these, just think in those terms of why the priest, and why did God create a priestly system, and what is the priest supposed to be doing, and is this good for the whole society? And I think we'll see that, having healthy people who are the priests that people interact with is a great way to go. So let's start into verse. Oh, do I have it? Yeah, right here. I think. Yeah, chapter 13, verse. Is that where we are? No, we're not. Sorry. We're way down. We're way down here into, hold on. This is the regulations. This is chapter 13, verse 47. As for any fabric that is spoiled with a defiling mold, any woolen or linen clothing, any woven or knitted material, or any linen or wool, any leather or anything made of leather, if the affected area of the fabric, the leather, the woven or knitted material, or any leather article is greenish or reddish, it is a defiling mold, and must be shown to the priest. The priest is to examine the affected area and isolate the article for 7 days. On the seventh day is to examine it, and if the mold has spread in the fabric, the woven or knitted material, or the leather, whatever its use, It is a persistent, defiling mold. The article is unclean. He must burn the fabric, the woven or knitted material of wool or linen, or any leather article that has been spoiled, because the defiling mold is persistent. The article must be burned. So I find this fascinating. We all know molds, and we know molds can be very, very deadly, right? You go into a house, we don't have much mold in Arizona because it's so dang dry. But you go to other places throughout the country, or places where it's really, really, like, I remember going to the National Youth Gathering about 9 years ago, or maybe it was 12 years ago. And one of our jobs was to clean up after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. And everything was mold, like everything was mold. And it became pretty evident, like extremely evident, as we started into this thing, that this was like the worst idea that they ever had. Because why would you want to expose children on a National Youth Gathering to mold? So they quickly pivoted after the first day that we did this. We said, this is not healthy. A whole bunch of people said this. They pivoted and they moved the children into doing other things to help clean up a Hurricane Katrina. Because mold is deadly. We know that mold is deadly. And if you've lived in places where there's a tremendous amount of mold, you will not be happy. It could kill you. So if you've got a fabric that has mold on it, which is unusual because of where you're living, I mean, they're in the Sinai Peninsula, at the Mount Sinai. So mold doesn't happen that often. If it does happen, then you show it to the priest. If the priest says, yeah, this is mold and it's not going away, we're going to burn it. It seems horrible to burn it, but better to sacrifice one article, right, than the whole community. And so this is kind of what we're seeing a pattern develop. Now, what's also interesting is that it's called defiling mold, persistent defiling mold. This defiling is also the same as leprosy. We said a defiling skin disease, which gets translated as leprosy. Well, this is a leprosy mold. I wonder how it's translated in the New King James or in the King James Version. I'm just going to see 1347 in King James. Leviticus 1347 KJV, King James Version. I'm just, okay. It's if the garment also that the plague of leprosy is in, whether it be woolen garment or a linen garment. So they saw leprosy as, we define leprosy as this Hansen's disease, but in the Old Testament, it was just a general term for a lot of different ailments that weren't just necessarily leprosy, modern day leprosy. It was a whole bunch of different, just bad diseases that were out there. And so in the King James Version, they call it a plague leprosy. So that's kind of what we're talking about. All right. Verse 53. Okay. But if, when the priest examines it, the mold has not spread in the fabric, the woven or knitted material, or the leather article, he shall order that the spoiled article be washed. Then he is to isolate it for another 7 days. After the article has been washed, the priest is to examine it again, and if the mold has not changed its appearance, even though it has not spread, it is unclean. Burn it, no matter which side of the fabric has been spoiled. If, when the priest examines it, the mold has faded after the article has been washed, he is to tear the spoiled part out of the fabric, the leather or the woven or knitted material. But if it reappears in the fabric, in the woven or knitted material, or in the leather article, it is spreading mold. Whatever has the mold must be burned. Any fabric, woven or knitted material, or any leather article that has been washed and is rid of the mold must be washed again. Then it will be clean. These are the regulations concerning defiling molds in woolen or linen clothing, woven or knitted material, or any leather article for pronouncing them clean or unclean. Yeah, so if it's kind of gone into the fabric, you burn it. If it seems like it's not gone into the fabric yet, maybe he does a little test of it, then it's okay to wash it and then, retest it to see if it's gone away. So this is basically, this is so interesting. It's like an early test of hygiene. They always talk about how we didn't know about hygienic things for a long time, not until the modern era. But even though they didn't know the specifics of hygiene, it's obvious here that they know a bit about hygiene. Like particularly if there's mold on a fabric, it has to be looked at. And if it can be washed out of the fabric, then you can keep the fabric. But if it can't be washed out of the fabric, it has to be burned. And this is thousands of years ago. They came to this, that God provided these directions to Moses. It's just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. All right, let's go to Leviticus chapter 14. Okay, cleansing from defiling skin disease. All right, the Lord said to Moses, "These are the regulations for any diseased person at the time of their ceremonial cleansing, when they are brought to the priest. The priest is to go outside the camp and examine them. If they have been healed of their defiling skin disease, the priest shall order that the 2 live clean birds and some cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop be brought for the person to be cleansed. Then the priest shall order that one of the birds be killed over fresh water in a clay pot. He is then to take the live bird and dip it together with the cedar wood, the scarlet yarn, and the hyssop into the blood of the bird that was killed over the fresh water. 7 times he shall sprinkle the one to be cleansed of the defiling disease, and then pronounce them clean. After that, he is to release the live bird in the open fields." Okay, so it's probably worth just kind of going through this step by step. This is a diseased person at the time of their ceremonial cleansing. So once they've been said, "You are ceremonial clean," then you bring him to the priest. And the priest goes out outside of the camp and says, "Yes, you are clean." So what are we going to do? If they've been healed of the disease, the priest shall order that 2 live, clean birds, so you have to go out and find a dove or a pigeon or something like that, and they have to look at them and say, "Yes, these are clean," and examine them. If they've been healed of their defiling, the cedar wood, and some cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop, and the priest shall order that one of the birds be killed over fresh water in a clay pot. He then takes the live bird and dips it together with the cedar wood and the scarlet yarn and the hyssop into the blood of the bird that was killed over the fresh water. 7 times he sprinkles the one to be cleansed in of the dwelling disease, and then he pronounces them clean. After that, he is to release the live bird into the open field. So, isn't this fascinating? It looks like it's just a ceremony. But if we're picking up on this theme that God is giving us ways to protect ourselves, if the blood of one of the dead birds is defiled, then how do you know? I mean, is this like the canary in the coal mine type of thing? So he dips the live bird that he didn't kill into the blood of the other bird and releases it. And the question probably is, does it live? Because if that bird starts to die, then you've got a plague, right? So, the only way you know you have a plague is that you take the blood of the dead bird that you just killed and put it on the live bird and see if it infects and kills the live bird. And if there's no plague in the birds, then the live bird goes and doesn't spread anything. You don't find a dead bird. But if the bird dies from all this, then you know you have a plague and you have to do something differently. But this is all part of this system that God put into place. And so the people of Israel would do this. If they found a person had been cured of their disease, they would take the 2 live birds, they give it to the priest kills one of them, puts the blood in a pot, takes the other bird, dips it in the blood, releases the bird, and then he declares the person unclean. So it seems like it's a sacrifice, but it's really kind of it seems to me like it's an opportunity to see if the plague is spreading. And, plagues were commonplace all the time. And what they call plagues are basically just all sorts of diseases that can spread from person to person. This is before drugs or even knowledge of anything. This was just people are sick, and now more people are getting sick type of thing. And this is how God uses the priestly class to keep the people safe. And that's what he's doing. All right. Verse 8. The person to be cleansed must wash their clothes, shave off all their hair, and bathe with water. Then they will be ceremonial clean. After this, they may come into the camp, but they must stay outside their tent for 7 days. On the seventh day, they must shave off all their hair. They must shave their head, their beard, their eyebrows, and the rest of their hair. They must wash their clothes and bathe themselves with water, and they will be clean. So a person washes their clothes, they shaves off all their hair, they bathe with water, and then they'll be ceremonially clean. They may come into the camp, but they have to stay outside the tent for 7 days. But on the seventh day, they shave their hair, and their beard, their eyebrows, the rest of their hair. They must wash their clothes and bathe themselves with water, and they will be clean. So this is probably because there were a lot of injuries that were hidden by the hair. So God says you got to shave your hair. So you're basically taking all the hair off your body, behind your chin, up on your head, and everything. So you can actually see the skin and evaluate the skin to see if the skin is completely healed or not, or if there's any diseases on the skin. Because I imagine that there would be people who would have, let's say, a lesion on the top of their head, and they know that if the priest sees the lesion on the top of their head, that they'll be kicked out of the camp. And so God tells Moses that you have to completely shave down your whole entire body, and it has to show that there is no lesions anywhere. And and I don't know how they shaved back then. You see a lot of Old Testament time when they shave. They must have gotten a certain kind of slate stone and used another slate stone to get it to a very, very fine edge, and then they used that to shave with, almost like we use a razor today. I'm sure that it was very painful. I'm sure that it was not easy. I'm sure that coming up with the tools to shave was not easy. But I'm sure that this was part of the hygiene system, that everybody knew how to go find a certain kind of rock and carve it and shape it so that it could be used to be shaved with. All right. I think we'll end it there. Yeah, we'll end it there. So we'll be on verse 10. Let me get my pencil and pen. So on Wednesday, we're going to be on 14:10, start, and we'll go from there. All right, let's close in prayer. Gracious God, thank you so much for your blessings of today. Watch over us until we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen. And for those of you joining online, I'm so grateful for you. I pray that God richly blesses your day, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.